All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to our webinar tonight. This is Brian Niederhouse with DaniJohnson.com. And man, we are excited about this evening. We are going to have a phenomenal event. Topic tonight is about moms and just for moms. And we're super excited about this. And this is a topic that Dani Johnson is passionate about, being a mom of five herself. And so we're excited about all of the things she's going to be bringing to the table today and the information. And it's just going to be an awesome, awesome evening. So I have a couple of tips for you to make the best out of this evening. First of all, turn off everything else that you might have on your phone or on your computer. Turn off Facebook, turn off your email, turn off the internet, not the internet, but like things from that you're using on the internet, and just allow your computer just to see this alone, because that'll give you the best quality stream to your computer. And we're streaming at very high speed, so if there's an issue with the stuttering on the video, it's probably on your side. So make sure you turn off everything you possibly can. Turn off all those distractions. Be ready to take some notes. This is going to be some unique information that you will not hear anywhere else. It comes from 27 years of experience and helping people around the world. If this is your very first time getting to experience a Dani Johnson event, this is going to be a great one. Like I said earlier, Dani's passionate about this topic and this subject and helping people. And for the last 27 years, Dani has been helping people around the world, literally millions of people, through her books, her training information, her live events. In fact, she just had her 27th year anniversary of her live events a couple of weekends ago. And this particular topic tonight is something that's really near and dear to our heart. Not only has she been a successful mom of five, but also now a grandmother of 8. She's been married for 27 years and just an incredibly successful businesswoman as well. So she's figured out how to balance all of those things and keep her priorities straight and be able to thrive in all those areas, not neglecting anything that's really, truly important to you as a mom. And so we're so excited about this evening's webcast. And so please help me welcome Dani Johnson.
Brian, thanks so much for that introduction. I appreciate you. And I want to say hello to all of you from all over the world. Brian was telling me before we got started that there's people from Holland, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, US, all over the place. We have people that are tuning in tonight, and very, very blessed that you decided to join us. Tonight, we are going to be talking about how you will be able to raise incredible kids without turning into a mental case, basket case, without feeling like a complete overwhelmed failure. And so oftentimes in this role of our lives as moms, we're not even talking about being a wife tonight. We're talking about being a mother tonight, leading into our holiday coming up next weekend for Mother's Day, which sometimes for some people is a painful day. For others, it's a joyous one. For others, it's like we've just kind of tuned ourselves out of it and we want to skip over it, kind of like how some of us feel about our birthdays. So if you're in that place right now, that season of your life, whether you're arguing with your toddlers or your teenagers, tonight's going to be a really impactful night, as when I first had to learn this kind of information myself. I had my first baby actually when I was 18 years old, pregnant at 17. Growing up in a home that did not prepare me for motherhood, did not prepare me even for being a wife, a business person at all. I grew up on welfare with extremely violent circumstances. The man that raised me beat myself, my mom, my 2 sisters, to the point of ambulances coming to the house. My throat was grabbed by huge hands, shoved up against walls to be cursed at by a man that was 6'10", 350 pounds. So when I first became a mom, friend, I have to tell you that I was knew I was going to fail. I really feared that my kids one day would hate me. I really knew that I was not ready. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to do it. All I knew is what I didn't want to do. All I knew is that I didn't want to raise my kids in the same exact environment that I was raised in. But that's not enough to raise great kids, right? I mean, that's a plan of what you don't want to do, but there was no plan out there to show me what to do. So not only did I feel like when I became a mother for the first time, and even pregnant the first time, I didn't know what I needed to do. I didn't know how to approach it. And as you heard Brian say, I have 5 kids. I have 8 grandkids. It shocks me every single time I even hear those numbers, honestly. I was the most unlikely to have a large family. I was not the person that was going to have 5 kids or even 3 kids, to be honest with you, mostly out of fear. Fear that I would be a terrible mother. Fear that I would repeat what was done to me. Friend, let me just kind of clue you in. I was molested from the time I was 3 till I was 16. Molested, okay? I grew up with all kinds of issues. I grew up really not trusting anyone around me. I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust men. I didn't trust women. And so being molested to being violently abused, watching my mother be violently abused, watching my little sisters be, and I mean violently abused. We're talking dragged by the hair across the room, being picked up and thrown across the room to hit a wall. We're talking being kicked across the room. So I grew up in extreme violence, and I'm talking about what just happened to me. I'm not even telling you what I witnessed happen to my mom and my sisters. So honestly, I wasn't that person that was going to have, the happy family. My biggest goal in life was to hopefully get married to a guy that would not beat me or my children one day. That was my biggest dream. And so I ended up pregnant at 17 out of wedlock. That went over really, 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 really bad. I got disowned by my family. I got played like a violin by wonderful, sweet religious people who I thought had my best interests in mind. That resulted in a horrific decision that I made all at the age of 18, a month into my 18th year of life. And my daughter went home with somebody else, April 30th of 1987. Today, she's 31 years old. She lives 5 minutes from me. She was sitting on my bed earlier today, coming to just chit-chat and be with me today. So I didn't start off right. And to be honest with you, when I looked at the earlier years, and mind you, I was a single mom for a couple of years. I ended up now having another baby 5 years later, and then wanted to get pregnant again, so I ended up getting married. So my kids range from 31 to 19 years old. My grandkids are 12 to 18 months old. So I've done the whole gamut of things. My kids are now adults, and I'm in this adult stage, if you will, as a mom. And the purpose of tonight's webinar is to kind of share with you some of the places where the things that I had to learn in order to not to be honest with you, I was suicidal through the earlier years of being a mom. And I really felt that my kids would have been better off without me, that my husband would have been better off without me. I just knew that I was screwing everything up. I was screwing everybody up. I had so much guilt and shame every single day, friend. Every single day I had so much guilt and shame. And what I've seen on the internet, what I've seen on Facebook, when I hear the questions, especially from my professional life as a radio and television talk show host, as an author, as a business coach. I've ran companies for the last over 30 years, and I've trained people for the last 27 years. And when I've seen the questions come through and the heartache and the heartbreak of moms all over the world struggling with some of the same things, like I said, fear, guilt, shame, the pain of it, going to bed at night, crying out your eyes because you feel like you totally messed up. And what I want to tell you is this, is that our world has not prepared you and me to be a mom. It hasn't. I remember all those years ago looking like, man, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. I certainly don't know how to do it right. And for some reason, our society thinks that we're just supposed to know it by osmosis. So I don't know who trained you to be a mom. But if you grew up in the same house that I did, you probably struggle with some of the same things I've struggled with. And that is the fear of messing it up, the fear of your kids hating you, the fear of being totally abandoned by your children and even by your husband, and feeling like you probably deserve it. I neglected my family for a couple of years because I just knew I was screwing it all up. And I found that working 80 to 100 hours a week was somehow going to be the thing that was going to solve the issue. No matter what I tried, it didn't work. And I felt more and more depressed and more suicidal until I learned a few amazing strategies that changed everything. And tonight we're going to dive into a few of those strategies. And then later on, I'm going to give you an opportunity to take advantage of some other strategies that really, really helped me. So if you are that guilty mom, if you're that mom that's overwhelmed, if you are afraid that you're messing it up, or even you're afraid that your kids are going to make some of the same mistakes that you made when you were young, if you're afraid that your kid might get hurt, even abducted or abused, bullied, I know exactly how you feel. And tonight, we're going to show you how to raise incredible kids, enjoying that journey without being that overwhelmed, fearful, guilty, nearly psychopath, as we know all of us can be from time to time if we're not careful. So let's dive into some things. First of all, is this really your fault? No. I'm going to tell you why. Think about this. 14,000 hours of schooling. There wasn't a single class on being a mom. No, not a single class. Our society somehow thinks that however which way that we were raised in the house, that somehow that's going to teach us, develop us, train us up in leadership, train us up in our role, that somehow our society thinks that we're supposed to figure this out somehow. Well, here's the numbers. 98% of the population will end up dead or dead broke at the age of 65, depending on their family, friends, and federal government for their main source of income. 98% of the population. 2% of the population will be financially independent. You're like, well, what does that have to do with raising kids? It has everything to do with raising kids. It almost seems like there's an agenda that comes from a very high place that wants our kids to be mediocre and to fail. So I'm going to ask you this question. Who is in your home? Who is in your home? It's not brats. It's not germ-filled kids screaming and fighting with you who won't obey. The future is in your home. Who's in your home? Destiny is in your home. Who is in your home? Purpose is in your home. And we live in a society today that has taken women away from their most powerful position, has looked down upon that powerful position, has tantalized her with this whole other place that she can go and things that she can do for where she can feel recognized, she can feel accomplished, that she can maybe even feel beautiful, that she can feel like a winner, a champion. Because they have put down so much on being a mom. And it's almost like this, like the role is being ignored somehow, that the role really doesn't even matter, even though that it's the moms of the world that have raised up the presidents, the prime ministers, the senators, the congressmen, your nobles of your city, your mayors. It is the moms who largely have influenced their sons and daughters to either dream and dream big, to focus, to get trained, to believe that they can, or it's been the moms who have told them, don't get your hopes up. You'll never amount to anything. Listen, we're just common people. You can't expect to ever be anything better or different. Why are you so slow? Why are you so stupid? How many times do I have to tell you? You see, our society has not prepared us mothers for the most important role of our lives, like at all. Think about it. And how do we know? Look at the facts. Why is it that in a free society, most people are failing financially? Why is it that most of us are hurting with so much debt, like suffocating the life out of us? Why is it that kids are graduating from college with a gigantic mortgage payment, but no house? In fact, not even ability to get a job. Why is it that we live in a world today where kids are more lost? In fact, some of them are still living with their parents at 30 years old, down in their basement. Mom and dad still paying for their cell phone. Mom and dad paying for their debts. Mom and dad not knowing how to let that one fly the nest and succeed on their own. We are more messed up as a people today than I think that we've ever been. And guess what? The fact is, it's almost like it's by design. It's almost like it was done on purpose. And how do I see that? Well, friend, I got to tell you that, you see, I started in business 30 years ago. And one of the first things that I learned in business was, to find someone who had what I wanted and to learn from them. It was a powerful thing, like to find mentors and role models so that I could learn it. Well, I learned good after being a homeless woman at 21. I became a millionaire by 23. However, this did not help me with raising kids. And what I began to see was, hold on a second. Okay, so how did I succeed in business? how am I feeling as a mother? And I used to say all the time, like, don't ask me about raising kids. Don't ask me about being married because I really am bad at that stuff. Like, I'm terrible at it. I can teach you anything I can about business and I can help to teach you how to earn your first $1 million, but I cannot tell you anything about your personal life. I'm underwater on that one right now. But then something happened. I got tired of giving that lame excuse, and I also got tired of feeling the guilt and the shame for not being able to succeed in that part of my life. So I went right back to what I learned as a businesswoman, and I started to apply what I learned as a businesswoman into the home. And so I began to ask the questions of like, well, who's doing this well? And what's their success rate? And wait a second, how do the super elite, super successful people raise their kids versus how the rest of us raise our kids? Like, there is a difference. And I remember coming across some incredible teaching and incredible quotes that I would see. Things by like former first ladies who groomed their son for the presidency. Former mothers who had raised really successful children who were world changers. And I remember like going in and studying like, okay, like who raised this guy? Or who raised this woman? How did they do it? What did they do differently? And I did find like almost like a pattern that was very, very different. One thing I will tell you is that, well, they groomed their children for positions. They groomed their children to succeed in society. They didn't just give birth and hope for the best. They were very intentional with how they raised their children and what they taught their children, how they prepared their children for life. And then so in my professional life, I was noticing as I was working with thousands of adults, there were so many of them that didn't have a clue about honor or respect. They didn't have a clue about money. And neither did I, for that matter. Hello, I grew up on welfare, right? Okay, so here I noticed, like, well, wait a second here. Those of us in that 98%, we do not have a financial education like the elites give their children. We've not been trained up of what real honor and respect looks like. We've not been trained up with good, polished, professional communication skills. We've not been trained up with good emotional skills. What do I mean by that? Come on, friend. You know what that means. Why is there bullying in school? Because parents have not taught their children to manage their own emotions, how to feel what they're feeling and to work through those feelings. The children have not been taught how to communicate correctly because the parents don't even know how to communicate correctly. So you have a fighting match. You have parents bullying their kids. Their kid then goes to school and bullies other kids, right? Or you have the older kids bullying the younger kids, or the bigger kid bullying the younger kid. Or you've got a cousin that's coming into the house and bullying your kids. And why is that happening? Because literally, we have been robbed of almost a manual, a manuscript, almost like there's a secret code that's amongst those who are in the 2%, who raise their kids completely different than 98% of the population. And when I began to discover this, first I was mad, and the other part of it was like, ooh, this is like so good. Could you imagine if the world had this information? The other thing that I continued to run into was this, that every time I would be doing our training seminar, a 3-day training seminar called First Steps to Success, where we have had thousands and tens of thousands of people come through these trainings from all over the world, right? So here I would be there and I'm teaching people what seems to me to be common sense, the things that I use in business and the things that I've used in my marriage and as a mother. And I always ask this question. So, how many of you wish that you were raised from the time you came out of the womb with this information that you've gotten for the last 3 days, and every hand passionately just shoots up in the air like a rocket? Do you understand? Not, oh, yeah, that would have been nice. It was like, oh, like with passion. People are mad that somehow they were not trained these things. Even though they had loving parents, even though their parents did their absolute best, their parents were passing down what was passed down to them. So how do we find ourselves here? There's some people that are very, very wealthy are making sure that your kids and my kids are never competition for their kids. That's the reality. Wanting to make sure that their kids, are going to be better off financially, have a smaller pool to compete against. Because if the whole world knew what they have done and how they've trained up their next generation to succeed wildly in the marketplace, how to build generational wealth, how to have good standing relationships, good communication skills, be able to know how to manage your own emotions versus flying off the handle every 10 seconds. Knowing how to live out their days in peace, contentment, knowing how, to manage their time. Being wise financially instead of foolish. So friend, when I would ask people these questions at these seminars, and I'd say, how many of you wish you had this? So passionate, hands going up in the air. I wished I had been raised like that. I had to unraise myself the way that I was raised, and I had to re-raise myself while we were raising our kids. So rather than just accepting that, kids these days, rather than just sitting back and dealing with it, right? Just going, it is what it is. That's just how my kid is, and that's just how society is. And, that's just the way it's going to be. It's just too hard to do it any other way. Friend, I'm telling you right now that if this former broke high school dropout, who was a cocktail waitress, who did a lot of really bad things. Yes, I messed around with drugs. Yes, I messed around with men. Yes, I had 2 kids out of wedlock. Yes, I was a welfare recipient. Yes, I was a single mother. Yes, I messed up everything that there was to mess up. But if I could learn how to succeed, number one, and I could learn how to train up my kids to be wise, to understand personal responsibility, if I could learn how to train up my children to understand finances, to not go into debt, if I could learn how to lead my family in a way that was fulfilling and to crawl out of the pit of suicide and depression and fear, then friend, you can too. You absolutely can too. I promise you there's a hope at the end of this information. There is a hope where you will be in that place where you will just say, man, I cannot believe how happy I am. I cannot believe how fulfilling my life is. I can't believe how I wanted to end it all. And today, my life is far better than I ever imagined. So let's get into it. What are some things that you can do after knowing that out of 14,000 hours of schooling, you were not trained, and that's just from kindergarten to 12th grade, you were not trained on having proper emotional skills, you weren't trained on good communication skills, you weren't trained on any good relationship skills. Come on, think about our high school years. That's the worst of all, right? The worst of communication skills, the worst of relationship skills, the worst of emotional skills, right? Huge failures we all made in high school in those particular categories. And then, of course, huge financial failures because our parents were the ones that taught us how to spend money. And so I know that you don't want to pass your debt down to your kids. I know you don't want to take your bad habits, wrap them up in pretty packaging and hand it to your kids. I know that you don't want to take the struggles in which you've had and also hand those over to your kids like you handed them dinner tonight. You want to give them a better way. And you're going to feel good about yourself when you do give them a better way. You're going to feel phenomenal and feel awesome as a mom. Not only that, I promise you this, you're going to be stopped in public. People are going to be so blown away by your kids, as I have been stopped so many times by people who have said, your kids are phenomenal. How do you do that? You should teach parenting classes. That's actually how Grooming the Next Generation for Success was ever written. Many, many, many years ago was doctors and the nurses and the offices and the schools and people stopping me in a grocery store, people stopping me in a restaurant going, when you walked in, I just thought, we better get up and leave. Look at all those kids. Doesn't that woman know what birth control is? Like literally, I've had people say this to me. Like, are you Mormon? Are you Catholic? Do you know what causes this problem? Why do you have so many kids? Okay, when you live in California, people look at you cross-eyed when you got a lot of kids. So nonetheless, to go from that to then that same person who's saying that to me in a restaurant and then just say, ma'am, your kids are so honorable and respectful. They ate with such good manners. None of them threw a fit. Nobody was whining. They weren't hitting each other. Do you see the rest of these kids in this restaurant? And I would just say, man, thank you. And so that's when I was compelled the very first time to be able to write this training program, which was all the way back in 2005. 2005, Grooming the Next Generation for Success was birthed. I'm going to give you some excerpts from that book, from that entire training series that was developed that has changed the lives of thousands of people. Not only that, friend, this book has gone all over the world. In fact, one of the very first reviews that was ever written on the book, in Amazon.com actually, was from a sociology professor out of Austin, Texas, a huge university in Austin, Texas, who wrote, "This is by far the best book on parenting that has ever graced the planet." I'm a former dyslexic friend, okay? Dyslexic high school dropout, hello? Not a parenting expert, but simply what I did is I discovered that I had not been trained properly, that I did not want to do what was done to me, and I used the things I learned in business and I brought it right into the home. It had made me millions of dollars in business in my 20s. Yeah, what I learned in business made me millions in business. When I brought it into the home, forget the money. That meant nothing. It brought peace into the home. It brought fulfillment into the home. I was birthed as a mother and felt confident versus running from my responsibilities. The guilt no longer was beating me up every single day like I was a boxing dummy. No longer was I suffocating in sorrow and pulling the covers over my head and crying myself into an oblivion. No longer was I using food as a drug and even gracing too much alcohol now and again, and using work, to be honest with you, as my source of confidence. But now, as I stepped into my role as a mom, and I owned that position, and I used these same techniques that I used in business and working with people and motivating people and understanding people to learn how to understand my kids, how they were wired, what mattered to them, how to communicate with them on their little teeny tiny level all the way into their teens, and now they're adults, married, most of them married. Actually, 4 of the 5 are married today. So let's talk about this because it's really, really important. First of all, one of the things that we told you that we would cover today was exactly how to win over the everyday battle of exhaustion, the dirty house, the piles of laundry, right? And of course, the poopy diapers and all of the guilt and the fear that goes along with it. So one of the first things that I had to do is I had to learn how to manage my time. That was one of the first things I had to learn how to do. You see, I managed my time well in business, but there was no owner's manual, hello, when it came to being a mom, right? So there seemed to be like no structure in my home. There was lots of structure in my business. There was like schedules in our office, you know what I mean? But there was no schedules in our home. It was kind of like you wake up, okay, after nursing, you don't wake up. You wake up from your nap, right? Because you know the deal, right? You've got your bloody nipples, you're engorged, your body's just whacked out, everything is loose. You can feel the looseness of everything walking all around. You feel like you're totally never going to be sexy again. You feel like you are never going to be touched again the way you were touched before you had that child. Like all of that, like you just know you're going to be cheated on because your stomach looks like a United States map or the world map. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's how you feel. Like, and let's not even talk about what's happening to your chest, that it's sliding down a mountain somehow. And all of a sudden, that part of your chest is, it's supposed to be round. It's this way instead. I mean, come on. Like, it's just the worst. It's the absolute worst. So not only are we dealing with all those emotions, but here we have this brand new, beautiful baby, right? That we're so excited to have, holding a little baby. And then every 3 hours, it keeps screaming in the middle of the night. And I remember needing to get up with the other 2-year-old and of course the 5-year-old on top of that and just going, oh my gosh, how are you going to handle this, right? Well, what I noticed was there was no way I was going to live another day in reaction mode. But then I needed to figure out how to live my life by design instead of living it by default. Default what? Whatever came at me that day, that whatever popped up, like I was in constant reaction instead of preventing the reaction. I was living in straight up chaos. Now, I have to tell you that there's going to be times where you feel like things are chaotic. Okay, come on. You have a brand new baby, you've got a toddler, and you got a 5-year-old. It's going to be a little like, you're going to have times where you just don't know if you remembered to breathe. You know what I mean? And like taking a shower and eating. There are those times, friend, where it feels like that, but that's not supposed to be the habit. So one of the first things I learned is the secrets of time. I learned that I actually could have more control over my schedule schedule than what I thought I could. You see, in the beginning, I was like, no, like you're a mom, so you have no life now. You have no say in anything. You're just like being tossed by a terrible tide in the ocean that's just like whipping you all over the place. And so what I discovered was, if that's how this is supposed to go, I'm going to check out. There's no way I can do this. I cannot handle that. And so if I could manage a company, in fact, I was managing 2 companies at the time. If I could manage 2 companies with a bunch of adults who once were children, if I could manage schedules and not to mention thousands of customers, then why can't I not manage a newborn and a toddler and a 5-year-old? Of course I could. I just didn't think I could. See, that's what's so profound about moms. They don't realize actually the things that are in them that they can use in the home to help bring success in the home. You see, I was starting to make the mistake that my kids were the center of the universe. And when your kid is the center of the universe, they control you and they control your time. So we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. Another thing that we promised was a step-by-step guide for fewer temper tantrums. Yes, blow-ups and door slams, right? Whether that's by the toddler or the teenager or you, right? We're going to talk about that. We're going to give you some tips to have more quality time, add a little bit of silliness into your day, and to just plain old have more fun. Because if you're not having fun being a mom, life's going to suck for a long time, okay? So there's fun in being a mom, even if your personality isn't fun like mine. Mine's not a fun personality, but there is a way to add some fun and some laughter, because laughter is medicine for the soul. We're also going to show you some powerful tools to break the cycle of chaos in your life. So let's start with number 1, managing your time. Do you have to live your life where your life is centered around your children? The answer is no. Now, I know somebody right across the ocean just said, that's sacrilegious, Dani Johnson. How could you say such a thing? Friend, I'm telling you something. What happens to children who were raised to believe that they were the center of the universe? Think about it. You may have met a man who thought he was the center of the universe. You have maybe met a woman who has thought she was the center of the universe. Let's talk about that person real quick, right? Let's like dive deep into that. What happens when someone thinks they're the center of the universe? They're arrogant, they're pushy, they can be controlling, rather manipulative. Yeah, they try to control others, they try to control circumstances. They figured out a way to totally push people around, to put all the focus on themselves. We have all been around that person before. Whether we worked with them, we grew up with one, we went to school with one. Yeah. And do you realize that if your kids are your number 1 priority, you're raising more of those? What happens to those kind of people? And friend, listen to me. How did I learn this? I learned it in business because I used to deal with some of those people. And when I would help those people unravel their arrogance and huge egos and unteachable, when they would see that they were the problem as to why their business wasn't growing, why their finances were stuck, why their relationships were toxic, when they actually had to look in the mirror and go, whoa, I'm a jerk. I'm an arrogant pig. And then I would ask them, like, let me ask you something about your childhood. And they're like, what? Were you the center of the universe when you were a kid? Like, oh yeah, my mom, man, she doted all over me. Yeah, I got anything I wanted. Yeah, that was, my parents, like, they went to all of my games. I got to do whatever I wanted. I'm like, whoa. I found a pattern with people who were unteachable, egotistical, arrogant fools who thought the world revolved about them. People who didn't have a clue on how to focus on other people. So when it comes to managing your time well, when it comes to learning the secrets of time, one of the things you got to learn is how to prioritize your life. This is what I had to learn. You see, when I first, I had a nervous breakdown when I was 25 and I had a heart attack at 24. Most because of stress and guilt, because I wasn't being the mom that I was supposed to be. I was totally neglecting my kids. My work became my drug. I was a full-on workaholic. It wasn't to make more money. In fact, at the time, it was to save a company. And the reality was this sucked so bad that I'm neglecting I'm neglecting my dream, to be honest with you, because my biggest dream was to be a mom. My biggest dream was not to be a millionaire, not to be a business person, not at all. Like that was like an after effect after I got around a bunch of business people. But growing up, I just wanted to be a mom. That's it. And here, my biggest dream had come true. I have these beautiful kids, and somebody else is spending all day long with them. Somebody else is training them. Somebody else is being their mother, and it wasn't me. And so when the world revolves around a child, when that happens, because we think we're supposed to do that, because maybe you were neglected as a kid, and so now you want to make sure that your kid doesn't feel neglected, and or maybe you were made to feel like the center of the universe, and then you got out there in the real world and you found out you were one of 7 billion. Sucks, doesn't it? Yeah, you found out you were one of 7 billion, and that is like, I'm like this little tiny guppy in a giant ocean, right? I'm just little tiny nothing in this huge sea of people. You don't want to do that to your kid. You see, your child is a priority, but it's not the number one priority. Here's another thing that happens when you create your child to be the center of the universe. Your marriage begins to slide. Yeah, your husband feels neglected. You feel neglected as a wife. The very thing that brought the two of you together, that love relationship that brought the two of you together, now is what? It is dry as a bone. It's like the Mojave Desert in the middle of August. Nothing grows there. You've lost passion for each other. You've even lost interest for each other. So largely the homes where the kids are the center of the universe, this is when the parents of the kids are all gone, end up divorced. Why? Because they put their relationship completely on hold to raise the kids. And now the kids control every decision. The kids control whether or not mom and dad have sex. The kids control whether or not mom and dad are going to stay married. The kids control what the finances look like and where everybody lives. The kids control whether or not there's peace in the house. The kids control the level of chaos. And why? Largely because mom and dad didn't realize what they were doing. They didn't think it out. They didn't look at the full plan of what they were actually training their kids to be. So, managing your time. Is it possible to live out your days where you have peace? Is it possible to live out your days and use some strategies where they are not controlling you, but that you actually are the one that is directing them and purposely training them up to be adults that you will be so proud of, that will excel your expectations, that they will become human beings that are better in their area of character? They are better communicators than you were at that age? Could you imagine if you raised kids who actually were financially independent versus dependent? Could you imagine if you raised kids who learned how to deal with the circumstances perhaps that they have caused in their own life versus becoming victims? Could you imagine if you raised kids who had wisdom far beyond their years and that they were able to go far faster than you ever were because of what you planted inside of them? It's totally possible. So let me give you an example. Recently, I had 6 of my 8 grandkids with us for a week and a half. My daughter and her husband went off on a trip together. I agreed to watch the kids. Now, 6 of them, okay? So at the time, they were 4 to 10 years old, okay? And so now, I mean, Nona and Pops, we haven't had little kids, staying overnight, consecutive night after night after night. And by the way, this was actually not that long after my daughter was making a move from South Carolina all the way to Texas. And we had 4 of the kids with us. 2 of them, 2 older ones, which have been the big helpers, were gone at their other grandparents' house, and we had the 4 younger ones. So here we had, quite a bit of experience with all of these littles. These 6 kids were actually being homeschooled. So now Nona had to step into what? Homeschooling mom of 6 for a week and a half. How was this going to work? Think about it, right? So it was really awesome because right away I kicked right back into gear of what I did when my littles were little. And I was a homeschooling mom of these littles as well. So what were some of the things that I used to be able to not go crazy every day, all day? Well, it was a structure. And it was time secrets. So we had time set out each part of the day, chunked out to where we accomplished certain things. So when my husband came home every day at 5:30 at night, there was dinner on the table, a fresh, hot cooked, from scratch, beautiful, luxurious meal. There was what? The house was clean, the kids were clean, the kids were quiet, the kids were mannered, the kids were in a great mood. There was not someone screaming in a corner and another fight that was busting out the minute that he walked in the door. No, the house was as peaceful as it was when the kids were, before the kids got there. Do you understand? So how do you do that? It's really simple, my friend. I promise you. Now, there's an entire training series to teach you how to manage your time, and it's a really simple thing that children actually have learned how to do this. But what I do, and what I did when I had the kids with me for that period of time, is that we got up. They were told they needed to be quiet in the morning. That and that there would be that I would be incredibly proud of them if they were able to honor these wishes, and that they would set them up for the rest of their day. We asked them not to wake everybody else up. We're talking about a 4-year-old who wants to go, get up, get up, get up, so we can start our day. That's what he does at his mom's house. But when he comes to Nona's house, that don't happen. Why? Communication. Communication, communication. And not only that, but I began to take some of the skills from my communication training as a mom, use the same exact thing as a grandmother. And so how do I do that? Well, I set them up to succeed. I prevented the chaos by a simple talk before they went to bed. I prevented the chaos with the reward of a good job and encouraging them. Let me give you this strategy, because we're now going to blend number 1 and number 2 together. So managing your time, okay, but also putting in some important communication skills with your kids, right? So this is what it looked like. So I would say to my little Harvey, you like to get up in the morning and you like to wake everybody up, don't you? And he says, yes. I go, why? It's fun. And it's boring. I don't want to just stay in bed. I want to get up and play. I don't want to be quiet. I'm like, okay, that sounds awesome. But Harvey, let me ask you something. Do you want to have a really good day tomorrow? Yes, I want to have a great day tomorrow. Okay, Harvey, I'm wondering if you could help me out. I'm wondering if you would be willing to just give it one shot tomorrow. That if you're the first one up, I want you to just have this one toy right here on the floor by your bed, that as soon as you wake up, go potty, grab the toy, come back into bed, and be as quiet as you possibly can be. And I want you to see how quiet you can be for as long as you possibly can be quiet. And I want to hear that when I come upstairs and I say, hey, was Harvey quiet? That your brothers and sisters say, yeah, he was super quiet. He did a great job. I said, Harvey, aren't you going to feel so good when tomorrow morning when Nona comes upstairs that they say how awesome you were? He's like, yeah. So what did I do? I built up a reputation for Harvey to want to strive for, to live to want, that he would actually feel the praises of his brothers and sisters, all his older brothers and sisters. I knew that him sitting in bed trying to be quiet isn't going to work, but he could have one little toy, and then he's talking with that little toy, he's playing with that little teeny tiny toy, little figurine of whatever. So I helped him to be able to achieve his goal of playing still, but motivated him with the praises and the appreciation that would come from his sisters and brothers, as well as from me and from his grandfather, that if he was able to actually do it. And so sure enough, that's exactly how every morning went. Yes, there was a couple of times where he, towards the end, meaning his older brothers and sisters, slept in, 2 and 3 hours longer than when he wakes up. But at the same time, all in all, he was rewarded with a good pat on the back, looking him in the eyes and telling him what an awesome job he did. So let me break that down in simple terms. So if there's a way that you want to live out your day, don't be a dictator and make commands like you're commanding a dog, but instead talk to them in a way of how you would want to be talked to. You see, how do we have such terrible communication skills on the planet today? Like I told you, people in high places want to keep us in chaos. Why? Chaotic people are afraid, and fearful people are easy to control and manipulate. But if the people in high places actually wanted us to succeed, classes would be done in school teaching us how to communicate better. No question. parents would be attending classes, teaching them how to communicate better with their kids, how to motivate them. So again, let me break this down and make it real plain. You figure out how you want your day to lay out. So when I looked at the day with the 6 kids and noticed, if this little guy is going to control everybody and wake everybody up and make everybody mad, I have to figure out a way to prevent that from happening. I'm going to figure out what motivates my youngest grandson who's staying with me right now. I'm going to figure out what motivates him, what makes him feel special and important, and I am going to give him what he wants, which is to feel special and important. He actually wants that more than he wants to play and more than he wants to be loud. He wants to feel good that he's succeeding. In fact, I truly believe that all kids want to feel good and they all want to succeed. I believe we've all been wired for that. I believe that the lack of training and skill sets us up for failure. And so, again, I figured that the worst thing that could happen is that the day where everyone, as soon as everybody gets up, they're all in a really bad mood and there's no peace. So look at how you can prevent it. Now, right now you're saying, but Dani, I have a 2-year-old who's out of control. How did they get that way? Come on, girl. Listen, you're a committed mom. And as a committed mom, if you want things to get easier, there's one thing you got to come to. You got to come to the revelation that what you're doing is producing the current result you're getting. I had to swallow that pill over 25 years ago, that the result I was getting as a mother was because of something I was doing and or wasn't doing. So I wanted to prevent the tantrum of the teenager all the way down to the 4-year-old. I wanted to prevent the all-out war that was going to take place at 7 o'clock in the morning when Harvey goes to try to wake everybody up because he's bored. So listen to me. If you have a 2-year-old that's out of control, you have to ask yourself, what motivates my 2-year-old? And how can I speak to my 2-year-old in such a way that brings them honor and respect, and therefore I yield honor and respect from them as well? Rather than everybody getting escalated and fighting and attacking each other, how can we create harmony? So I'm going to start right there with that first part of the day, right? So then I had a routine. And I did this the whole time I was raising my kids, is that I had a routine set up. So it was, okay, guys, when everybody's up, first thing you do is you make your bed. First thing, make your bed. Second thing, any toys that are out, all the toys get put away, okay? These 2 things happen before any of us come downstairs. They were all good. Like, okay. So then I would ask them that question. If I lay that down, then I high-five them and I appreciate them and I shower them with encouragement and praise when they have followed these 2 things. If somebody is not following one of these things, well, then now there's a point of, would you like to have the opportunity to make that right? Which is a little warning versus a bribe or a threat. Would you like the opportunity to give that another shot? Would you like to try that again? Okay, with a smile and honor, looking them in the eyes, giving them the chance. Why? Because we're all human. We all make mistakes. I make mistakes. I have 2-year-old temper tantrums. You have 2-year-old temper tantrums, right? So how do you want your kids to act? How do you want them to respond? Do you want to constantly be putting out fires, or do you want to prevent a few of those throughout the day? Because even if you were able to prevent 50% of them, let's say that there's 10 fights a day and you were able to prevent half of them, you're going to have like so much of a better day, are you not? Yes. So there's a difference between prevention and control. There's also a difference between protection and control. And I write about this in the book, Grooming the Next Generation for Success. It's an important chapter. But let's just go here. So I decided that I want this schedule to be followed in the best way that it can, right? So they get out of bed, they make the bed, they clear up whatever toy was taken out, they put that back. Third, they get dressed, right? And where do they put their pajamas? Now, I'm one of those moms that my kids are going to wear their pajamas more than once. They're going to wear them at least twice. When you did the amount of laundry that I did in my house, hello, friend, a clean pair of pajamas every single night is ridiculous, especially after they have a bath every night. They have a bath, they put the clean pajamas on, they get into their bed, And some women do like clean pajamas every single night. It makes no sense to me. So anyway, my kids wore their pajamas at least twice. So they fold up their pajamas set folded right there on their pillow, waiting for them to come back to it that night, okay? Or when they were really little, it was, come back to it that afternoon for their nap. So that was the first thing. So we come downstairs, now it's breakfast time. The older ones, trained them to be able to fix the younger ones. And what was it? Cereal, fruit, whatever it was. Also, this is again, you'd be amazed what your kids can actually learn how to do. You really would be amazed, because I can just hear you right now, hear somebody across the ocean saying, oh, but Dani, you don't know my kids. My kids won't do that. Trust me, let me have a week with your kids and you'll be amazed how amazing your children are. You'd be amazed how successful they want to be. You'd be amazed how they actually want to obey. You would be amazed how they actually want to honor you. They want to bless you. The problem is us parents do not possess the skills we should have been trained with to be able to provoke the best out of our children, but instead we provoke the worst out of our children. We haven't been trained up on how to provoke the best out of our husbands, so we end up provoking the worst out of our husbands. That's clearly what we do. Because why? Because no one taught us how to do this job. Come on, think about it, friend. Could you go get a job as an engineer with no training? No. Could you go get a job as a rocket scientist with no training? No. Can you go get a job, being a hairstylist without ever taking a single class? No. I mean, you might be able to do a buzz cut, but that's about it. So here, the most important job on the planet comes with no training. It's supposed to hit us through osmosis. We're supposed to somehow, it's supposed to fall out of the sky on top of us, and we're supposed to feel good about what we're doing. We don't feel good about what we're doing because we have not been given a plan. We weren't taught how to do this, to do it effectively. We weren't even taught to think about, wait a second, what kind of skills do my children need to have as they're growing up? What am I training them up for, right? Let me tell you something. You know what you're training your kids up for? You might have the future president of your nation inside your crib right now. Yeah. The future builders, contractors, teachers is in your home right now. You're training them to reign in the marketplace one day. Future mothers and dads are in your home right now. Future business people, maybe inventors, maybe the next Steve Jobs is in your home in a high chair right now throwing spaghetti all over the floor. Yeah. Purpose and destiny is in your home, and you're training them for something. And I'm telling you right now, someone is grooming your child to succeed or fail right now. And I made the decision that on my watch, that grooming for failure is not an option. But that I would only groom my children the best way that I could for success as I saw it. That for their entire full rounded part of their life, that they would be equipped with what they needed to face life. That whatever was on the other side of them moving out of the house, whatever was on the other side of their choices for marriage, whatever's on the other side for their choices for finances, I want to make sure that we gave them everything we possibly could, not in the form of stuff and money, but no, in training, of development, of wisdom, of understanding, knowing people, knowing themselves. And that starts with literally a baby. We literally teach our kids to whine. When the kid whines, they abduct our day. They get our attention. We literally teach our kids to do what? To argue, which takes time. Yeah, takes emotion, frustrates us, makes us angry, has us live on the edge of being out of control, and in some cases, just all out of control. So when we don't understand and we don't have a plan, that we were not trained to do this in a way that we would set our kids up for success instead of struggle, that we would set our kids up to fail financially, emotionally, in relationships, with what? Teaching them it's okay to whine and teaching them it's okay to argue. Like, what are you talking about, Dani? I don't teach my kid how to whine and argue. Yeah. Or something I noticed I did. Maybe you're not doing it, but man, I did, friend. I did. Here's what happened. I noticed that my little guy would say, Mom, Mama, 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 Mom, 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 Mommy, 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 Mommy! When would I answer? On that high-pitched scream. And I didn't even realize that I had tuned him out. I tuned him out. Because, hello, when you had as many as I do, all saying, Mom, thought I was going to go crazy. So I tuned it out. And so I created the scream because I taught my kid that the only time I listen is if they're screaming, which meant I created the chaos in my house. I created the high octave screaming that was happening from all the rooms the kids were in. I created it when we were outside. I created it when we were at a grocery store. I created all of this chaos. And when I finally sat and I realized, like, whoa, wow, I am teaching them to whine. I'm teaching them it's okay to whine. I'm teaching them the only way they're going to get my attention is if they do something dramatic. And then I respond with, what? I'm teaching them it's okay to scream, to disrespect, to dishonor. I'm literally teaching my kid to do that, which is doing what? Aborting my day. It's bringing stress into my life. I'm driving them crazy. They're driving me crazy. So how did I fix it? I began to learn to prevent it. I began to create a structure in the house where they feel like they were succeeding, where they had time to do what needed to be done, and so did I. We had pockets of time throughout the day. In fact, to be honest with you, from 12 o'clock to 3, then when I put my kids down for their naps, and that 12 to 3 o'clock time, that was mommy time. And to be honest with you, that was spiritual time. Because for me, I don't know what your spiritual life is like, but if mine's a mess. I am a disgusting person, like a terrible, disgusting demon, honestly. I really am. I have no patience. I have no anything, and I'm depressed, and I'm sad, and everything is super negative, and I complain. And so I needed that time. And so I would spend like an hour, changing out that next thing of laundry or whatever, and then I would just have my time, whether it was reading my Bible, which I found so much life out of, and that's really where I found all the content that came out of Grooming the Next Generation for Success. It's where I found peace. I would have time to pray, to cry, to work things out in my head, to journal, to figure things out. And there were times where I was building a business that I used that time also to work a business. And so when you have your time structured, and then you also use those communication skills that we outline in the book, those communication skills that are so important. These skills where you're able to communicate, you're able to identify what motivates your kid, not bribe them, not badger them, and not threaten them. Because what are you doing? You're teaching them to manipulate when you bribe, when you badger, when you nag, and when you bully them. Same thing. It's all the same thing. When you threaten them, you're bullying them. You're controlling them with fear. So rather than using those things that you see other 5-year-olds use against each other, come on, you see that with other little kids. Rather than doing that, learn what motivates your kid. Use what motivates them to pull the best out of them so that you can lead them to the greatness of who they are. You can help them do the right thing, and doing the right thing is by their own choice versus it being out of a choice of being controlled and manipulated. And therefore, you're not having a chaotic day. When you have a structure in place, this structure, and when you talk to your kid, okay, this is what time it is, it's Lego time. So everyone grab your Legos, you go to your own Lego station. Everyone needs time by themselves to be able to play by themselves. Everybody needs time to think for themselves. Everyone needs time to create for themselves where you don't have to worry about anyone taking your toy. You don't have to worry about anybody telling you that what you're building is ugly. You don't have to worry about anything from anybody. But you get to relax and enjoy a creative moment for yourselves. So this, again, was a structure. This helped me to have more time to do what? Fold that load of laundry, right? Start the dishwasher. pull out dinner that needed to thaw out, pull out the stuff that I needed to make for dinner. Do you understand? So communication skills and time management skills go perfectly hand in hand. Knowing how to identify who your kid is, what is inside of them, the strengths they have, the weaknesses they have, helps you to prevent them from failing you 17 times a day. When you discover even who you are and what your strengths are, this also helps you to not fail. That rather than living in those places of where you're failing, where your weaknesses are, no, you can prevent those failures and those weaknesses by putting together such a simple structure to where every hour of the day you're winning. More importantly, so are your kids. That according to that structure, the kids are winning. They're not being provoked to whine. They're not being provoked to manipulate. They're not being provoked to bully, but they're given time and space to succeed. So let's just recap for a second. So can you see how that helps you to not be exhausted? That if you have your time scheduled out and there's an activity for each part of that day, and you are preparing the kids through good communication skills on how to go into that, and when they've done it well, you're patting them on the back, you're telling them they've done a great job. When they choose not to, and here's what I will tell you, that in that week and a half that I had them, and then of course the times that I had my kids did not spend their life fighting with each other. My kids spent their life doing their best to honor one another. And honor is something that has to be taught. So these two things that I'm talking about, Grooming the Next Generation for Success, which is a book and a home study course, as well as Time Secrets, which is a home study course, these three things together is the powerful tools that I use to bring peace and harmony in the home, but more importantly, to groom my kids up with the kind of skill sets that they needed to be able to do life. More importantly, there were things that I knew that, man, if these things had been given to me, I would not have had some of the horrible financial failures that I had. I would not have had, certainly, relationship failures that I had had. I would not have had all the crazy emotional baggage that I brought into my marriage and that I brought into being a mom. I would not have suffered for so much fear, guilt, and shame had I had these tools in the very, very beginning. But I have to tell you, I am so blessed that I got those tools at the time when I got them. Time Secrets, I got that when my kids were really, really little. Grooming the Next Generation for Success, I got that when they were really, really little. All of that information that is jam-packed in there, even like scripting, man, I began to write these things because I felt bad as I would see other moms going crazy, as I would see them crying, as I would see them screaming at their kid, as I would see them calling their child names, not even realizing that what they were speaking into their kid was going to manifest itself and their kid was going to be what they were saying their kid was. As I would have moms write me or call me and say, my gosh, like your son is so amazing. I wish my son was like your son. I say to my son all the time, why can't you be more like, and they would say my son's name. And my heart would just go, no, don't say that to your son, but let me help you. And I found myself spending time with the moms that my kids went to school with from time to time or at the park. And they would say like, how did your kid obey you so fast like that? How come they didn't pitch a fit? And I would say it's really, really simple. And so I found myself doing that. And then that's basically what created the entire training program that now, like I told you, is being taught in universities all over the world, where sociology professors who've studied this stuff forever are teaching our book. In fact, I have to tell you a hilarious story. I'm on an airplane with a young student who's studying sociology. And she's talking to me about some of the challenges that she's having in this paper that she's writing and the challenges that she's seeing. And I said to her, have you ever heard of the book Grooming the Next Generation for Success? And she's like, I have. Wait. And she pulls up her phone and she shows me the picture of the book, not realizing that she's sitting next to the author, that her professor had told her to read it. A woman behind me then steps up on an airplane and says, Dani Johnson, I have to tell you, that book saved my life. That book saved my life. Now, the girl sitting to my right, who's the student, she didn't know that I was the person who wrote the book. But the woman behind knew and said, I was going crazy. I was going absolutely crazy. I wanted to quit. I wanted to be done with it. I felt like such a failure. I found myself being a workaholic instead because I couldn't handle what was happening at the house. She says, everything that I needed to be an awesome mom is inside this book and that home study course. I have to read this to you because this is like such a precious and amazing thing. Check this out. Angel Pull writes, this program has changed my life. I used to always be angry inside and I didn't know why, and I couldn't shake it. It showed when I disciplined my kids. I mainly yelled at them. It was an everyday thing, and I always felt so guilty for yelling. Since going through this program, my anger has been lifted. I have a better relationship with my children. They are obedient and respectful, and people constantly compliment me on their behavior. I am happy to be their mom and cherish every moment with them. Listen to this. Lindsay writes, this program is what taught me how to prioritize and balance out my days. I was once working nonstop 10-hour days in front of the computer for my online business. I was totally burnt out and actually fell into a deep depression for 2 months. Today, I work 10 to 15 hours a week, and I even have a rest in my day. With my baby. My husband is happy, our marriage is joyous and thriving, and I am at peace, never striving or stressing to make that next call or answer that message. There's no fear or anxiety in my day any longer. I'm focused when I need to be and rest when I need to rest. No guilt, no fear. Did I mention our income has grown more in 10 to 15 hours a week than it did in 50 plus hours a week that I was spending? Thank you, Dani, for this program. Friend, if you want to raise obedient, amazing, thriving kids that causes people to stop you because your kids are so different than everybody else's, if you want to sleep well at night knowing that you're handing them a plan that is going to set them up. Now, whether or not they choose to follow it after they're adults, whether or not they choose to abandon everything you ever taught them and go a totally different way, guess what? You'll be able to do what I do. I did my part, baby. I did my part. I absolutely did my part. I set you up for emotional success. I set you up for relationship success. I set you up for work success and to have the right attitude concerning work and how to work with diligence and excellence. I taught you with the laundry and I taught you with the dishes. I taught you how to have the right attitude with it. I taught you how to manage your finances. I taught you even some entrepreneurial skills because all of that is inside of grooming the next generation for success. And you can say to your kids, I also taught you how to manage your time and to manage it well. So you implement these skill sets into your kids, you're going to know every day you're winning. You're winning every single day. So here's what we have. Before I get into these next two strategies, I want you to take a look at this opportunity that you have right this minute, only right here, because if you tried to go to our website to get it, you're not going to be able to get this. So what we put together is we put together this mom bundle. So we have Grooming the Next Generation for Success, the book, the audios, the videos. In fact, here you go. The book is over there. Audios, videos, and an entire workbook that comes inside of this as well. So there's a workbook that comes with scripts in it, literally scripts on how do you discipline your son or your daughter, scripts on how do you have that hard conversation with your teenager where it results in restoration with your teenager. Also inside the book and the audios and the videos, it shows you how to discover what the personality is of your child and what motivates them, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are. Another thing that you're going to learn inside this training series is exactly how to discover what has been planted in them, a dream that is inside of them that you can pull out, and how you can foster that, how you can feed that, and how you can use that dream as fuel to be able to help them learn the skills that they're going to need to learn to be able to achieve that dream. The skills of diligence and excellence. Yes, you'll be able to use the dishwasher and the laundry and their bed as complete motivation for their dream coming true. Because they need the skills of diligence and excellence. They need the skills of the right working attitude. They need the skills, perhaps, to be able to achieve their dream on how to be able to manage other people in the future, how to lead other people in the future. This is exactly what I did with my kids. How you treat your brothers determines how you will one day treat your future employees, or how you will treat your future husband or your own children. So your brothers are practice ground for you. This is the practice that you'll need to have in order to succeed in your communication skills moving forward. The fact that you can learn this at 5, 6, and 7 years old is powerful, because once you become an adult, it's going to be like second nature to you, right? So the inside that book also, it's going to show you, yes, how to have some of those scary conversations when your kids reach adolescence about sex. Yeah, how do you have those sex conversations with them? How do you teach them and prepare them for that part of their life? How do you help your kids to be able to protect their own purity to where they're not like everybody else? And here's something really important inside of the book in this training series. Yes, money. The conversation of money. Rather than you being used as an ATM machine, no more. No more your kids using you as an ATM machine. Your kids not controlling you with manipulative terms of, but Evan has one, how come I don't? And this is exactly how I said it to my kids. When they would come to me and try to manipulate me with money, and their friends have these clothes and their friends have those shoes. Listen, the millionaires did not shop at expensive places for our kids. They wore Walmart jeans. Our kids did not have video games. Our kids did not have the newest bikes. Our kids did not have any of that stuff because we knew the traps, the financial traps that the whole market was controlling the families with, controlling them with debt and getting the kids hooked up to being spenders and consumers instead of learning to become investors. I can tell you this, that the 4 children that I had the opportunity to raise from birth all the way, by the time they reached, in fact, 2 of them before they reached 18 had $20,000 saved in the bank. And this wasn't because, mom and dad gave them a bunch of money. It is because they worked for money. They worked and they saved and they learned to invest. One of our sons at 15 bought his first house, has a rental property. He's now 20 and married, looking for another property that he will be investing into. Our daughter Erica at 15 made her first business investment into a CD. She was a singer and a songwriter. She made her first investment. You can actually find that on iTunes even. So anyway, so if you want to make sure that you ensure your kids with the proper skills that they are absolutely going to need, no question. This, in fact, everything that we said in the beginning, your parents didn't teach you this stuff. The school didn't teach you this stuff. You didn't learn it in college. Bottom line, you needed to know it, right? I needed to know it. So here's a simple final copy. You can no longer say someone didn't teach me or I don't know how. Even if you have adult kids. We have had, in fact, Joy Randall. She had adult children that she was completely estranged with. And when she gives her story, she goes, and I can't blame my children for never wanting to talk to me. If I knew what was inside of this training program, I would not have had my kids hate me. But she used that training program to go back to her kids, mend all the brokenness. They eventually ended up living with her again, starting businesses with her again, and became incredibly close. So even if your kids are already grown and gone, there's a new generation that's going to come out of them. You can groom the next generation for success with this bundle. Okay, so check it out. This is crazy. These 3 things together are $304, but right now they're $225. So basically, when you get a hold of learning how to manage your time, setting yourself up daily on a time schedule that helps you to succeed, reduces the stress and the pressure, reduces the chaos, helps your children to have a more peaceful life rather than rushing everywhere all the time. Being able to make wise decisions with your time, teaching your kids to make those wise decisions with their time, learning how to prioritize your time so that you can still be that sexy, hot bride for your husband, that you will be able to get the laundry done, that you will be able to have that meal cooked, and you will not be totally drained out when it comes time to be intimate with your husband, but that you'll be energized because you've been winning all day long and you feel like you're on top of the world and you're like, come here, honey. This is my next thing that I can't wait for. Okay, so Time Secrets is going to show you how to get the kids in the right priority place, have you in the right priority place, and your husband in the right priority place. So all of that, this entire system that I used raising my children, is available right there. If you click right there, Brian has it available for you. You get a major, major, major cut off of that price. Basically, Grooming the Next Generation for Success is free, right? So when you purchase this bundle, we're giving you Time Secrets and Grooming the Next Gen book and the whole work study program. By the way, let your kids watch those videos. Let them listen to the audios. You're like, Dani, my kids would never want to do that. Oh, I promise you, I have had thousands of people write us telling us that their 4-year-old says, please put Dani Johnson on. When they get in the car, they're asking their mom to put on Grooming the Next Generation for Success. The kids feel heard in that program. The kids help to now get trained from an outside source on what's going to help them to succeed in life. We've had so many kids start businesses from that training program where, again, mom and dad literally just let it play in the house. I have another one where there was a 16-year-old girl who was suicidal. Mom and dad did not know until, of course, the daughter's at the hospital and she swallowed a bottle of pills. Terrible, tragic story. Well, mom and dad got a hold of Grooming the Next Generation for Success, started playing it in the living room. The daughter would huff and puff as she walked by, and she would cuss out the television. Huff and puff and cuss out the television. The family was a mess. Well, pretty soon the daughter started to come and walk and stand in front of the TV I was playing. Then eventually she sat down, and then eventually she started taking notes, and then, well, I'll just tell you this. The girl just graduated from college with no debt. So bottom line is, your kids want to succeed, and maybe you don't know exactly how to help them to succeed. Grooming the Next Generation for Success is going to show them how to do it. Time Secrets is going to show both of you how to have more peace in the home. It's going to show you how to manage your time well, to where you're not exhausting yourself over all your chores that you have to do. And you're going to live your day by design instead of by default. So just click that thing right now and get yourself your gift to yourself for Mother's Day. Give it to yourself, that you're going to have your playbook to win this year as a mom. You're going to have your playbook to reduce that stress right now. Listen, but Dani, what if I'm that kind of person that I'm just a slow learner? It's okay. Let your kids listen. It's okay. I was a slow learner. It's okay. Listen, what's the point of this entire mom bundle? Is to help encourage you to be the mom you've always wanted to be, the mom that you wished you were, that you don't realize you already are. And what's the proof? You're on this webinar. You actually care. And I especially want to speak out to you single moms. There's nobody like you. My husband was raised by a single mom. She raised 2 sons. She was married and divorced 3 times. My husband's childhood was scary. But my husband turned out phenomenally. And why? He had a mom who did a few things really, really well. And one of them was she believed in her 2 sons. And she told her 2 sons over and over again, you can do anything you put your mind to. You're going to be successful one day. You're going to do great things. She continued to encourage her sons, even as a single mom. Now, of course, she made some mistakes, just like all of us have made some mistakes. But here's what I know. Single mom, if you're listening right now, you are so committed to your kids that you've taken this time out of your day to have yourself be poured into. You're giving yourself the chance to give your kids the best possible shot they could have in life. You've had to make some major sacrifices. And there is hope on the way. There is, I promise. And you moms who are the other 50% who have a husband, that's a little bit more responsibility that's on your back as well. It's another relationship to manage, and that also can be very challenging. I think both single moms and married moms have challenges. They're different challenges, but they're both challenges and they're both pressures. So if you're that married mom, Time Secrets, oh my gosh, for both you single mom and you married mom, for you to no longer spin out of control and being fearful and feeling guilty. The guilt stops here with this bundle. It stops right here. You and the children are going to be able to study it all together, and you seriously are going to sit back and go, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. You see, there's some moms out there that are just arrogant. They're just arrogant. They just, like, no, I'm a good mom. And they compare it to other bad moms, or they compare it to their mom. And that's their measuring stick as to whether or not they think they're a good mom. Friend, it's not a good measuring stick. You want to raise mediocre, average kids? You want to raise kids that don't have a clue on how to manage their schedule? They don't have a clue on how to manage priorities? Do you want to raise kids who make their kids the center of the universe and have their marriage dry up to a sexless marriage? Do you want to raise your kids that are going to be in bondage financially like you are? Do you want your kids to suffocate under all the debt that you're suffocating under right now? Then don't get the program. It's real simple. Stay the same. Keep thinking you got it all together. But if you're that mom that you do not want to pass down what was passed down to you, and I'm talking about finances, I'm talking about poor relationship skills, I'm talking about poor emotional skills, I'm talking about poor mental skills, even physical skills, not knowing how to prioritize, not knowing how to live out your life to where you're winning every day, okay? If that's you and you don't want to pass that down to the next generation, then I think you've already clicked and added to cart. And you know as well as I do, $225 ain't squat. It's going to make you more money, as you just heard inside of this. You're like, how? Trust me. As soon as you start diving into that material, you're going to learn and discover ways that you and your kids actually together will be able to come together and maybe join forces and do something to where you guys make money together. Yeah, you guys are going to become more solidly financially set. You're going to feel good about that. You're going to feel like you're winning. You're not going to be like the rest of your friends, I'll tell you that right now. Because all of them are trying to keep up with the Joneses, and the Joneses are broke, stressed out, putting on a nice plastic pretty face and making sure to shoot their forehead and their eyes with some Botox so that they look younger and they don't look stressed out. It's a bunk. It's a big facade. It's a big lie. Those same people that are on their antidepressants, those same people who are spending all their time on Facebook, those same people that are seeing what the celebrities are wearing. That is no life. That is no purpose. You who are watching, you're the purposed mom. You're the mom with a destiny, and destiny has come out of your womb. And that destiny, your job in this world, against society, who wants you to be average, who wants you to be mediocre, who wants you to be like everybody else, who's in debt and chasing the Joneses and what they're wearing. No, that is not what your calling is. Your calling is to groom the next generation for success instead of failure, instead of mediocrity, instead of being average. You're going to give them the best possible shot. So let's get back into a couple more of these strategies. Oops, right here. Okay, so a step-by-step guide for fewer tantrums. I already gave that to you. So what's the step-by-step? You design your schedule, you have a conversation, and you prepare them. Let me give you one more strategy on that. So I used to do a pregame talk and a postgame talk with my kids. So let's say that we're going to the grocery store, right? We've got everybody in the car. And by the way, here's another little quick tip on that. Don't go to the grocery store every day with your kids. What is that? You're spending money on gas that you don't need to. You're spending time that could be invested into other places, okay? You're putting your kids in an overstimulated environment after they've come out of school and or wherever it is that they came out of, right? So you're putting the kids in an overly stimulated environment, and you're expecting everyone to succeed and do this every day. Think about this. This is what Time Secrets is going to help you do. It's going to help you limit time that's going to wasteful places and start to learn to invest your time into things that make the most sense and that bring you the most peace, where you're going to live it the way you want to live it. You're not going to live it the way it was done to you, but you're going to design it how you want it. You're in the driver's seat, girlfriend. You're going to design it. So anyway, so the grocery store, okay? So I would take my kids to the grocery store once a week. Why? I only went to the grocery store once a week. I learned how to meal plan and set myself up financially for success instead of failure, because if I go to the grocery store with my kids hungry, and let's add Hans to the picture, forget about it. We're not going to have anything healthy in that cart. I'm going to do whatever I can to shut my kids up to every craving it is that they have. And so as I began to watch this, I'm like, hold on a second. I used to do this in business, by the way. We would have a pregame talk with our staff, and I'd have a postgame talk with them. So I brought that straight into the home. And so here's how it'd be. Here we are. We're heading out. We're in the car, in the big old bus, if you will, to fit everybody. And we're at the parking lot of the grocery store. And I would turn around and I would look at each one of them, and I would begin to edify, which is something I learned in business. I would build up each one of them and what their strengths were. And I would say something like this: I'm really excited for us to go tackle this task that we're about to walk in today. Erica, I love how encouraging you are. Cabe, I really love how you're a leader. Roman, I love how you like to make us laugh. And Micah, I love how you like to really pay attention and follow us. And so I would edify each one of them, and I would say this. I said, so tell me, what kind of environment is the grocery store? And they would say, I don't know. And I'd say, okay, think about it. Is this a place where there's a playground, or is this a place where there's adults? They'd say, adults. Okay, great. So is this like a playground where you get to romp around and be crazy and loud? No. Okay, so what do we do when we're around adults? We keep our voices to an inside voice. And so somebody would say, great job. And then say, okay, what's something else? So someone else would put up their hand and they would give me another answer. We need to not run. Perfect. So what are you going to do instead of run? We're going to walk. Awesome. Okay. And so we would set up some guidelines, right? This is a pregame talk. Now, when we're going to walk through the aisles, you're going to see all kinds of pretty packages, and you're going to see a bunch of yummy stuff. You're going to see all kinds of things that you're going to want mommy to put in the cart. But what will you do instead? And then one of them would say, I'm not going to point those things out. And I say, okay, why are you not going to point those things out? And they would say this, because 98% of the population's broke and they buy all those things. I said, exactly. And we're a family that we're going to set you up for success. And those particular things make people's bellies and butts grow and make them very, very unhealthy. And so we want to be a healthy family. We want to be able to succeed. And we want to be able to put money in better places where it makes more sense. And if we're really smart in the grocery store, then we'll be able to save money and have a reward for something much better and and much bigger later. So I'd say, so when you cross by the cereal aisle and you see the Cocoa Pebbles, what are you going to do? And then one of my kids would say, I'm not going to look at them. Perfect. That's awesome. Because the marketers want you to look at them, buy them, eat them, ruin your health and your bank account. So I taught my kids, again, in this pregame talk, a number of things. They learned business. They learned self-control. They learned the environment in which they were in and how are they going to act. They all got to participate in this little 5-minute discussion. Okay, so then I would say, all right, where's your hands going to be? On the cart. Okay, so they would hold the cart. And I said, and you know what's going to happen? We're going to have people watching you, and they're going to be thinking, oh, there's a bunch of kids. Those kids are going to be wild. And I said, but when they see that you're not, you're going to gain respect and honor. And you're going to change the way adults think about some kids. So let's go change how some people think about kids. Let's go set a better example for the other kids that are going to be in the store, because I believe in you and I know you got this. And so I'd say, are you ready? On your mark, get set, go! So we would climb out of the car, head for the cart, and they would start following this game, if you will, that I set up. And so right away I'd say, all right, Gabe, you're doing awesome. Erica, awesome job. Roman, I love the way you're holding onto that cart. So I would edify and encourage them as they were doing right. When they would say, hey, Mom, anyway, okay, good job, good recovery. So I would encourage them as we were walking through the store. So going to the store now was made fun. I had the opportunity to teach them about marketing. When we would come near the checkout line, I wouldn't just rush straight into the checkout line, but I also used the opportunity to teach them about things that their eyes were going to see as we're standing in line, all the pornography, all the lust, all the girls with the chest hanging out, all the bikini shots on the cover of a magazine. And so I would before I would get in line, I'd say, okay, guys, guess what? We're going to be coming to the checkout. You guys have done phenomenal, but there's going to be some magazines that Mommy's going to go in. I'm going to turn the magazines over first because your eyes are precious and your eyes are pure and your eyes are set apart. And there are some people in high places that don't care about the kind of things they're putting into your mind. So we're going to turn these around, and you guys are just going to stay focused on what you've been doing, and you're doing a great job. So we go through, I turn everything around, we sit through, kids go through, we get back in the car. Now here came the post-game talk. And I pulled out a couple of things that each one of them did really, really well and told them how proud I was of them. Turn the car on, drive home. Get home, have another pregame. Guys, we're about to walk in the house. We've got all these groceries we've got to carry in. If you can help me, that would be amazing. And then it'll give you more time to play outside while Mom begins to prep for dinner. So, post-game, pregame. Pregame, post-game. What did that do? It honored my children. It set my mind to prevent temper tantrums in a grocery store. I set my kids up to succeed instead of fail. I had them be aware of their surroundings, how to communicate with each other. They learned, again, a couple marketing tips, how to protect their own eyes, how to set an example for the other kids in the store. I taught them how to lead by the right example. What did that do? It brings tears to my eyes. My kids are very aware of their environment today, and they're honorable and they're respectful. I only wish that I had not made the mistake that I made with my oldest, because she's had a hard road of things to unlearn. But we've got a chance with our grandkids, and she's become a good mom with those kids. Bottom line is that no matter what you do with your kids, they're going to have their own life. They're going to make their own choices. But I know this. As my motherhood days of when they were in the home, I went to bed at night going, we won today. We did good today. I taught all of my kids how to do laundry, including my oldest, who came to live with us when she was 16 and had not done a single dish, hadn't washed clothes, had never learned how to cook. She was raised in a place with a mom who didn't teach those things. They had money and servants, and my daughter didn't have to learn. When she came to our house, yes, we had money, but you are going to wash your own dishes, and you're going to help with the family dishes. And she learned a work ethic and learned how to do the simple things in life and have the right attitude about it. So here's the bottom line. You are either setting your kids up to succeed or fail daily. you're setting yourself up to succeed or fail daily. These simple little things that make things more fun, that encourage you. You feel good about yourself. You're going to feel so good about your kids. Your kids are going to get rave reports from people. I can line up the amount of teachers that our kids had while they were in school. And I homeschooled half, and then half were in school at a time. And the amount of people that would just rave about them. Even taking Grooming the Next Generation for Success and bringing it to a teacher so that the teachers would understand the personalities, not only my kids, but the ones that were in the classroom, and taught those teachers how to motivate my child instead of put my kid down, and motivate the other kids in their class. I can't tell you how many teachers came to me and said, oh my gosh, that book saved my life. I wanted to quit my job. I grew to hate my job. No one ever taught us this in college. As I'm getting my teaching credential, no one ever taught us how to be able to communicate with these kids. But now my class is just killing it. They got great grades. They're obedient. They know how to follow directions. They're good with each other. And it's all from what they learned in Grooming the Next Generation for Success, as well as Time Secrets. So that is 2 more strategies that I promised you and we gave you. In fact, there's a lot at everything that I just kind of threw at you there. So in the very beginning of this, here's the promises that we made. We said that we're going to show you how to win every day the battle of exhaustion, the dirty house, the piles of laundry, poopy diapers, and mom guilt. That simply is because we're living our life by default without a plan. And why do we not have the plan? None of us were trained with it. Not a single one of us was trained with it. And that's sad and it's unfortunate, but it doesn't have to be for the rest of your life. Next, a step-by-step guide to fewer tantrums, blow-ups, and door slams. I just gave it to you. As I explained with Harvey, and I explained the pregame and the postgame talk with my kids and my grandkids, this prevents the arguments, the fights, the door slams, all of it. Tips to have more quality time, silliness, and fun. Just from that one store example. Again, all of this combined together between Time Secrets of the grocery store once a week, being able to honor and edify my kids, and then getting that back from them because of the way that I've treated them and set them up for success. Powerful tools to break the cycle of chaos and take your day back. Now, I'm pretty confident that if you just apply any one of these things that we gave you today, I am really confident that it's going to change your life the same exact way that it has changed the lives of thousands and tens of thousands of moms around the globe. Moms, grandmoms, aunts, uncles, you name it. And again, I've had adults that are my business clients who have gotten a hold of that material because they said, you know what? My childhood, Dani, was similar to yours. My parents left out a lot of things just because they didn't know better. I need to re-raise myself. I wish I learned these very simple things that I should have known as a child. So if you're single, and you need to re-raise yourself, get a hold of that mom bundle right now. Again, it's only $225. Jeez, think about that. It's so cheap. Honestly, we should have went to college to get a PhD in raising a family. Shouldn't we have? Think about it. Shouldn't we have? Yeah. I mean, think about what more important job is there on the planet than grooming the next generation for success. There isn't a more important job on the planet. This is the most important job on the planet. So if you're managing a full-time job and a family, Time Secrets is going to make it all work itself out. More peace, more love. You're going to feel sexy again. You're going to be that mom that people stop and say, wow. How have you done it? That is what your future looks like. Wow, your kids are amazing. How did you do this? Wow, you look amazing. How did you do this? Wow, you don't look like a hag in a bag. How did you do this? Can you imagine? You have to imagine it. You have to imagine it. You have to imagine it because that is what your future is. And that's what I've seen with our clients who have just completely embraced, almost ate it like it was the big old juicy donut or a nice slab of pizza from Naples, Italy. It's like, eat it up, girl. Eat it up. Because as you do, every single day, things are going to get easier, better, lighter. You're going to have your life back. You're gonna feel good about yourself again. You're going to sleep well at night. And you're going to be like so blessed, so completely blessed as I've been able to experience myself. But honestly, the greatest blessing that I have is, yes, seeing my kids and how they've grown, but also seeing you. I would love for you and I to get together on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, even YouTube. I would hope that you would find us. I want to hear your story. In fact, as you get these materials and you download them immediately and you begin to use them immediately, friend, I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you and just, in fact, do this. Just from what you learned here tonight, please implement it immediately and then write me tomorrow. Come over to Dani Johnson Live on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Just come and write it on my wall. Dani, I listened to this. I applied this one little tool that you gave, and this is what's happened. All right? And be consistent with applying that tool, and you're going to see a difference that's going to take place. So, and by the way, if you feel like you made a big mess, it's okay. There's a whole chapter in the book that if you feel like you made a big mess, it's going to show you exactly step by step how to clean that mess. Yeah, the mess maybe you've made with your husband, the mess you've made with yourself, the mess you've made with your kids. Yeah. Whether it's the finance mess, the time management mess, the emotional skills mess, the screaming, the arguing with your 2-year-old mess, all of that stuff, there's a chapter in the book that's going to show you exactly, and in the home study course to show you exactly how to fix that mess and how to get everyone back on track. And I promise you, you are not going to be hated. Listen to me. You're not going to be hated as a mom. You're going to leave things out. I left some things out. I learned as I went. I wish I had this final copy right when I had my first child. That would have been amazing. But we're getting it when we're getting it, right? And not all is lost. Not all is lost. And friend, there's no guarantee that how you raise your kids, that they're going to turn out perfect. There is no perfect humans on the planet. So take that pressure off of yourself. But really what you want is a guide. Just a guide. You also need a community of other people who are doing the same exact thing with their kids. Could you imagine a group of people who are pulling out of that 98% way of living, who are pulling out, their eyes have been opened up to the mediocre average plan that our society has sold us in some pretty packaging and with lots of debt? Imagine there is a community of people. You can find them on Facebook right now. If you go to Dani Johnson Live, Dani Johnson Live on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, you're going to find a community of people that are there, that are grooming their next generation for success, who are managing their time because they've learned the secrets of time. So go over there, say hello, connect with these people, build relationship with these people, meet their kids. You'll be amazed of their amazing, amazing kids, and you'll be shocked at the results that these people are getting. In fact, if you're one of our clients and you're watching this, please go over to our page, Dani Johnson Live on Facebook. Go to Facebook right now. Even leave us a video testimony or write us the story about how you've implemented this system into your life. Please just go do that so you can inspire the brand new people who just heard the name Dani Johnson for the first time, who've just tuned in on a webinar for the very first time. Please go over there right now. So that's it for us, friend. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm excited to see the results that you are going to get. I'm excited to get pictures of you and your family as your family is succeeding. I'm excited for the debts to come off of you. I'm excited for the emotional debts to be gone. I'm excited about your life being fun again, you feeling sexy again, your kids being somebody that you love to be around all the time, and still being able to get the laundry, the poopy diapers, and dinner done, and having plenty of time for that nighttime fun with you and your husband. So I hope you enjoyed this. God bless you. Thanks so much, and we hope to see you soon.